As I sat down and missed hitting my nuts, I started thinking about fleet carriers. Of course I started thinking because that's the hot topic of the week, woohoo! I started thinking about the gameplay that, well, not necessarily I do often, as a matter of fact. And that is the so-called emerging gameplay. Or basically, the gameplay that we create as players with each other. Not necessarily that is created for us by game makers. And you see, this emerging gameplay is actually a specific topic that developers tend to push quite heavily back in the day. They expected from the looks of things that we would create all the gameplay for the game, and that's why we have so many copy-pasted randomly generated crap. Or that's why I assume you put in so many procedurally generated missions. But regardless, with the fleet carriers, this sort of emerging gameplay now is gonna be possible more than ever. And really what we're missing right now is being able to conquer a system with our own made-up faction, which arguably you can say is Squadrons, but then again you centered the Squadrons around a competitive aspect. A guild system around a competitive aspect. Fucking pathetic, man. I mean, look what happened last time you tried competitive stuff in Elite. So yeah, safe to say that wasn't a smart choice, and poor Squadrons, oh my god, potentially the best thing to happen is butchered like baby on the satanic altar. But speaking of Casual Tuesday abortion, the emerging gameplay that all the developers covet so tremendously, well, for Elite right now is gonna be a partial thing, at least with some player groups, like for example Fuel Rats or Hull Seals, who will actually use their fleet carriers to station basically so-called rest stops in specific areas around the whole galaxy, and that, personally, sounds like a really interesting idea. And for player groups like that, who basically are literally the best things since sliced bread, these things could really come in use, which they are planning to do so. But for rest of us, well, it could be. See, the fleet carriers offer some really interesting ideas, you know, as a concept at the very least. You know, the open market where you can dictate your own prices, even though it actually can work more as a credit transfer for the cottage industry that is essentially selling the credits for fucking cash and can go die in fire. For normal traders, it's actually heaven. Or you're selling ships or modules, and if you choose your position correctly, well, you can actually maybe make money. Or just simply offer others a potential service that you wish, well, developers would do in the first place. Because you know, now you have a transportable station. Even for a plebeian like me, who doesn't care for emerging gameplay and thinks that BGS is essentially an advanced form of Lemon Party, I see these ways the fleet carriers can be used. And for folks like Fuel Rats and Hull Seals, I absolutely love the idea. But then, being a hypercritical cunt that I am, of course I'll poke holes in it. And there's no favorite hole for me than the upkeep, of course. I mean, let's be honest, who likes to lose credits when they're not playing the game? Or lose anything, as a matter of fact, when you're not playing? I mean, look at the fucking power play. Like, who plays that damn thing? And in power play alone, you basically just lose access to a bonus, an ability to buy a module, not the module itself. But with fleet carriers, well, guess what? If you go on a vacation from your second job, eventually you can say bye-bye to that wonderful thing. And about 300 million of your credits from that 5 billion that you put in. And honestly, it's quite staggering to think about that they are not learning from their own mistakes from way back, let alone saying from other companies. And make it even worse. You know, say what you will, but this is just as stupid as that one giraffe that stepped on its own cock when filming that old Dr. Dolittle. So no, especially if you are gonna be using your fleet carrier for emerging gameplay, having a renting feature on it, or close to it essentially, in the form of upkeep, is really something you don't want to think about. Renting emerging gameplay, well, that's new. Oh, but of course I'm not here to just talk about upkeep. There are other issues as well, and one of them is a thing that I haven't actually mentioned as of now, but that's bundling stuff. You see, in order to sell ships or modules and whatnot else, you will have to basically buy those particular things in bundles. So let's say you can't just choose to sell ASP Scouts because you are stupid like that. No, you're gonna have to buy other ships that include ASP Scout in its bundle to have ASP Scout. You won't be able to sell just Chav. You're gonna have to have ECM as well, and other stupid stuff that you don't probably need in your utilities. You see, the reason why things are in bundles and not separate is most likely because developers just were too lazy to balance out each particular thing separately. Because let's be honest, in a perfect world, you would most likely have everything as a separate thing and you could choose and customize the stuff that you want to customize to the full extent. But bundles are basically a shorthand. So what does this has to do with emerging gameplay? Well, clearly, if you want to go for AXI fighting whatnot else, you do want basically as little crap floating around as possible. And I don't know about you, but have you tried using ECM against the Targoid? Clearly, instead of that you could have taken, I don't know, another extra module or something else that could potentially be more beneficial than this limiting bundle crap. And basically we're talking about rigidity. The more rigid the system, the less likely it is for gameplay to emerge, if you will. Oh, but this is also not the only other issue. There's one more, and actually the biggest one, and that is the lack of information that is given to us about the other fleet carriers. So let's say you're an average Bobby who decides, I want to buy a hauler. Well, I have a choice to either go to this guy's fleet carrier, which might have a hauler on it, or I can go to the nearby station in the same system, or maybe a few systems back, and buy it for a full price with no tariffs on top of that. Because let's remember that at best case scenario, you can expect people to sell the stuff without a tariff. You can't go lower than that, so really what is the point of it? But let's say you're okay with buying stuff for twice the price, you know, the 100% tariff. Well, guess what? There's no way to tell what the fleet carriers are selling. The only thing that you can tell from the galaxy map or system map is basically what services it has. And that only helps if you want a refuel, repair, store modules, store ships, and rearm weapons. Everything else is basically not told to you. And the worst thing is, there's no way for the fleet carrier's owner to even advertise that they have stuff on their fleet carriers, beyond doing the typical thing of just spamming the local chats. And you know, this is the funniest thing. Developers implement for the first time player-owned markets and basically doesn't give players a way to advertise the stuff. So really, you have literally no way of knowing what is on sale, even if it is for good price. And now you're forcing your players to advertise their own stuff in local chats. So folks, prepare for spammage. Did you think that 1% beluga liners were annoying? Haha, you haven't seen anything yet. I hope I'm not the only one who thinks that this is super weird, that they put in this feature and yet fail to put in tools that are absolutely crucial for this to work. And frankly, this goes deeper than just fleet carriers, because let's remember, normal stations have the same issue. They don't post the information globally, even though we are in 3,300 year whatnot else future, and we don't have the internet. No, you know what? This is just stupid. It's 3,000 something year in the future, and developers think that, hey, we must obscure all the prices or all the markets because you need to go to them and discover prices for yourself, because that's discovery. Oh my god. No, but seriously, this is a perfect time to push for a global in-game elite database style database. Come on, developers. Otherwise, basically, fleet carrier commodity market is dead on arrival. And I'm not joking. Even though I would like to beat that dead horse. Win-win for me. If there is no way for us to check what the fleet carriers actually possess, realistically speaking, why would you ever go to them unless that's literally the only thing there? And even then, it would end up being a waste of time. It has nothing. And realistically, with all these issues, it's just half of the gameplay that it could be. So, developers, you really like us to do that emerging gameplay. Well, you know, you need to also put in some work for that to happen, right? You get that, okay? Well, whatever, maybe I'm talking to a wall, which, honestly, now that I think of it, I always do. Screw it. Well, let me know what you think and all that good stuff. That aside, check out the Patreon if you want to support what I do and all that. And, well, subscribe. Why not? That aside, well, stay healthy and stay safe, I guess. And beat that horse! Haha!